We don't get straight to the goal or straight to a high level on the ladder by jumping. We have to take it one rung at a time. And that is how goals are achieved. Hey guys, Coach Dan here. I'm a exercise and sports scientist. I have been training in gyms for over 20 years, and I've also been coaching for over 10 years. And I've got a goal attainment method that could get anyone to any goal. That's right. It could even get me some friends. No, that's probably not true. But it can get you any of your fitness goals. This concept is known as the goal achievement ladder. So basically how this concept works is you imagine your goal is the top rung of the ladder or on top of the ladder. And each one of those rungs is steps on the way towards your goal. So essentially you would identify the goal at the top, and then you would identify the steps that would get you towards that goal. And the idea here is that we take it one rung or one step at a time. We're not jumping to the 10th or the 5th or whatever rung it is. We take it one step at a time. So with this method in mind, we set the goal. We then have to identify the rungs. Now that is a little bit more challenging. If you do not have a lot of experience in the area that you are after, then it might be worthwhile either talking to a coach or a professional, potentially asking a friend what they do to identify those individual rungs so you know what it is that you have to do to get to where you want to be. So let's say, for example, your goal is 10 kgs weight loss, and you consult one of your friends who was successful doing that same thing, and they say, okay, these are the things and the steps that help me get there. You would then go, okay, they started off doing 8 to 10,000 steps per day. That's one of your rungs. Now, it's not enough to just do one rung on one day and then let it go from there. It has to be done habitually over the course of time. So how this process would roll is, okay, so we set that 8 to 10,000 steps. That's rung number one. Then we go, okay, we need to repeat that enough times before it becomes a habit, a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then we move on to the next rung once this one is a habit. So we've got one habit, one rung that we've done, we keep maintaining that, and then we move on to the next one. And your friend says, okay, I also made sure I drank 2 litres of water per day. So now you're doing the 8 to 10,000 steps per day and you're drinking the 2 litres of water per day. So we've got these 2 rungs we're working off. Now, there are some challenges is that even within this goal ladder, there might be sub-ladders that we have to work on. So your friend says, okay, I also go and I do resistance training 3 days per week, but you've never done any resistance training at all. So in that sense, you have to take one of those rungs and create another ladder and then get the steps on the way to that ladder. So I want to go to the gym 3 days per week, do resistance training. I've got another ladder. How do I get about doing that? I could get a trainer or a coach to show me a program. I could start to learn the movements. These are all individual rungs on the way to where we want to be. Once we accomplish this ladder, we then can essentially tick off that rung and move on to the next one. So this idea of this goal ladder, or this concept of this goal ladder, shows us that, again, things aren't done just by jumping to the top of the ladder. We don't get straight to the goal or straight to a high level on the ladder by jumping. We have to take it one rung at a time. And that is how goals are achieved. One rung, develop a routine surrounding that. The second one, develop a routine surrounding that, and so on and so forth until we get all the way up the top of the ladder and we are doing all the things consistently that it takes to get to the goal just out of habit. The difference would be if, say, you did a 6-week challenge or something like this, and lots of people do this kind of stuff, and they try and do 10 things at once. Now, what happens after these 6-week challenges is essentially people just go missing, because essentially they haven't set habits surrounding those things. They've just jumped 10 steps, and potentially they do them for 6 weeks and they work really hard and they get a good result. But because they haven't taken it one step at a time, developed habit after habit after habit, as soon as they stop the challenge, they fall off the ladder. So that's a really important thing to keep in mind, is that, again, we take it one step at a time. Maybe the results won't be as rapid as your 6-week challenge, but they're going to be long lasting. So remember, set your main goal at the top of the ladder. Start to identify each individual rung of the ladder at what it takes, or learn what those individual rungs are from either professionals who are in the field that you're wanting to get to this goal surrounding, or friends or family or people who are experienced at the gym who are willing to give you a hand. And essentially, you just keep ticking in those rungs. Develop the habit surrounding number one. Then number two, if you run into one that needs its own goal ladder, again, we can shift it over to the side, develop its own ladder, tick those off one by one, and then tick that rung on the main ladder off, right? And then we move on to the next step and so on and so forth. Now remember, this is not all accomplished overnight. It's all about those little wins, those little improvements over time. So as always, it's about progress over perfection. Coach Dan, signing off.